Hello, folks. Glad you could join us. Michael Garcia, yay!
Yes.
Back again to join us. Of course, Gavino, Fernandez Jr.
All right.
Lula's in the house.
Yes.
Always
Yeah.
a pleasure. Always a pleasure, Pokey.
It's always a pleasure having both y'all here.
First, we start a moment of silence for condolences to Mr. Relay Benson, Cedric Benson, the tragic accident that occurred this weekend.
What happened to him?
Motorcycle
Yeah, I saw that.
up there by 2222 where he lives at.
It was here?
Yeah,
That was
Wow.
Benson?
yeah, the
Football player?
football player.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I remember now, yeah.
Yeah.
That was,
Yes.
since you don't talk loud like I do, I can hear all
okay.
these mics.
Okay. So,
What do we got today, Pokey?
Saying, well, we were going to talk about voter registration. We still will. There's Voter Registration Day coming up. It's a nationwide effort. I know LULAC's heavily involved in trying to get it done. And I know in both parties, well, Democrats are always heavy into it, and I know my party needs to get more heavy into it, especially going for young people.
I don't know if I'm young anymore, Pokey. Maybe when I
Well-
first started coming on the show, but
Yeah,
not the target demographic anymore.
yeah, I remember I did the dope truck yard with you one time.
I've been doing a lot of ad-libbing on this campaign.
Have you?
And, the other day I said, let me do it the easy way. So I went and they do have, what it's about and all that, with good information.
Well, any of it you want to share right now?
Yes, let me go ahead and start here, because like you mentioned, this is a national effort, nonpartisan, of
Yeah.
encouraging nonprofits and PTAs and neighborhood associations to host a voter registration drive on September the 24th, which is recognized as National Voter Registration Day. On that day, and let me go ahead and read this here, because it says, National Voter Registration Day is a national holiday celebrating our democracy. It was first observed in 2012 and has been growing in popularity every year since. Held on the fourth Tuesday of September, National Voter Registration Day will take place on September 24th, 2019. The holiday has been endorsed by the National Association of Secretaries of State. It is further supported by the National Association of State Election Directors, the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, and the National Association of Election Officials. What it's about. Every year, millions of Americans find themselves unable to vote because they miss a registration deadline, don't update the registration, or aren't sure how to register. National Voter Registration Day wants to make sure everyone has the opportunity to vote. On Tuesday, September 24th, 2019, volunteers and organizations from all over the country will hit the streets, all right? And a single day of coordinated field, technology, and media efforts, National Voter Registration Day seeks to create broad awareness of voter registration opportunities to reach tens of thousands of voters who may not register otherwise. What it involves: volunteers in their community or workplace, at schools or public events, or anywhere can register people to vote. Technology to help voters find registration drives nearby and register to vote. Local organizations, businesses, and election offices engaged in their own communities. And this is what it accomplishes at the end of the day, all right? And
Can you go back one paragraph?
all right, go for it.
Local organizations, businesses, and election officials engaged in their own communities. Local organizations. And, well,
Nonprofits.
I'm gonna have to sooner or later mention this thing about, we did invite some other people to be
All
here,
right,
and they're
let me-
not here, but we won't go there right now.
Let me finish
Yeah,
this.
chop that to
Come
bits
on
and say
now.
something, but
All
okay,
right.
I'm cool. I'm
Say,
cool.
what will it accomplish, okay? Registering voters. In 2018, over 800,000 voters used National Voter Registration Day to register to vote across all 50 states, mobilizing volunteers. Each year, the holiday's growing number of local partners engage upwards to 10,000 local volunteers. Educating voters. Millions of voters need to register and register every year. By utilizing new technology and leveraging partners, we will educate Americans in all 50 states about how to register. Sign up for election reminders, check the registration online, get mail ballots, learn about early voting, and more. Uniting for a common purpose, National Voter Registration Day is a day of civic unity. All right, unity.
Should be, yeah,
All right,
unity
all
and
right.
duty.
It's an opportunity to set aside your differences and celebrate
Like they wouldn't do tonight to come on the show.
democracy and the rights and opportunities we all share as Americans.
10-4. Yay!
So, do you endorse it as the show, this day,
Yes,
this event?
yes, it's,
To be clear though, it's not a federal holiday. I don't get to skip
No,
work.
no,
right?
it's
No?
just
Oh,
a
come on.
national
for that day.
holiday designated by both the national legislature, the Congress.
I recall
Like when they proclaim a certain day, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, they
that's
hear.
what it is. Yeah.
before I ask, I'm gonna check my own voter registration, make sure, how do you know when you expire? Did they tell you, or you just gotta keep an eye on your own damn self?
You need to go on there's many ways to do it. Nowadays,
on the
with
computer and find out.
technology,
On your telephone
Texas.gov.
Well, and that's what I like about what you were talking about, because if they're going to get into explaining the technology to folks, I think that's really a barrier to one of the big barriers to voting in modern times. In Travis County, we have that if you're voting in the early voting period, then you get to vote in whichever
Anywhere you want.
precinct you want, right? Now, I don't remember if the legislature applied that to all counties this past session, but it's a great convenience we can use. But if you go on voting day, though, if you're in the wrong precinct, you might wait an hour or two in line before they tell you that, and then all of a sudden it's too late for you to go to your actual precinct if you're at the wrong
Yeah,
one.
I think
that
right now it's Williamson County and Travis.
Oh,
that
the
only
you-
ones?
You can go vote
Oh, wow.
at any voting center. What's her name calls them? Dana DeVois.
Yes,
She
yes.
calls them voting centers.
Travis County Clerk.
So you kind of, in a bad way, did away with precincts.
For the early voting period, at least. Yeah.
Well, even in general,
Even in
because
general now,
people.
you
Generally, you can do it wherever you want
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we're the first ones to
Oh,
crack that egg, Travis County, Democratic County, all right,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they had mine.
we're the ones that, or she's the one that first introduced that, and then other counties, chimed in.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, one, you have to be 18 years old to register to vote. A U.S. citizen,
Yep.
Is that right? How do you prove that?
not with a green card or permission or
Permanent
visa,
residency card,
or a
nothing like that.
visa, or, you have to be a U.S. citizen, naturalized citizen, in order to
right.
be eligible to vote. And not have a current felony.
Correct. That's right. At least in
Current
Texas.
felony, what's that mean?
That means if you have a felony right now and you're
You're still
still
on paper?
doing paper, or what they call paper, well, you're ineligible to vote. You're
Haven't done your time.
President Bush, all right. He allowed felons to vote after you complete your paperwork.
It's good, yeah.
And that's how he won his second.
Come on, they ain't knocking my bush too bad, are you?
But he is the
See,
one,
I
right, that passed that law here in Texas.
Bush, oh yeah, when he was governor?
Yeah, when he was governor, to allow felons to vote. And you need to keep an eye out, because there is an upcoming election. And in order to vote in that election, you must have registered 30 days before that date, which is very, very important, because you and I have worked as election judges, and people show up thinking that, one, they can just vote, or register that one day. And you need to keep an eye on those dates. And the most current election that's coming up is the state
You got some constitutional amendments coming up.
constitutional amendments coming up.
Yep.
When's that one coming up?
November the 4th, I
I
think.
think it'll be the first Tuesday in November, right? So,
Yeah.
It's coming
yeah, on there
fast
we
now.
got, we're gonna vote on whether we want to ban an income tax permanently in Texas, which I think is a good idea.
Well, I'm afraid these ideas that are a good idea come back to bite us, like 10-1's a great idea. I guess it's gonna take a couple of cycles to even out.
You talking about city council?
Yeah, we
Well-
thought that was a great, sometimes good ideas don't really turn out to be too good.
Well, you know, the other day they were also we were talking about, I don't know if you remember Amigo.
The program?
No, the planning tool. Amigo. Austin Metropolitan Government Organization. That was back in the, God, that was
Remember
It's
that?
been a while.
80s.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long
It was
time.
around the 80s, but it was a governing structure concept that was being worked on here for Travis County or Austin, because we knew it was going to eventually hit Round Rock and all these areas, Leander, Cedar, like it is right now. So they were thinking of Dade, Florida. They're the ones that have metropolitan government. And this is to eliminate APD, AISDPD, UTPD, Texas, you have what, maybe 10, 15?
There's a bunch of them, yeah.
Police
Different
sheriff.
police units. Well, AISDPD is still APD, but their officers assigned to it or something,
But this would
making a
have
separate command or,
consolidated the
Consolidated
districts?
and
Okay.
all functions under one,
suppose it's
With the,
good, I guess.
with the purpose of making it easier to vote.
No, in this issue is the governing structure, because he was talking about 10.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about how good things that
That's right,
seem
we're off on a
good
tangent on
The-
good ideas that might not.
district.
might not be
yeah.
so good. And
And
well,
it-
let's get rid of income tax, sounds like, we're gonna talk about that one of these future shows before the election, right?
I hope so. That's up
Me
to you,
too.
my friend. Yeah.
So,
We can talk about it after the
So
election.
on this effort in September, if you're a nonprofit or just a group, you can do this at home. You can do it at your office. You can do it at a library. You can do it at a bookstore. You can do it, outside any, a park or whatever. It's just on that one day. You don't have to be there all day. You just need to be able to host, maybe 2 hours. Sometimes we do ours 2
Yeah.
hours, 3 hours. But if you go to their national website, which is National Voter Registration Day, there's a link that you hit partners. And if you register your organization through that partnership, they will send you information for that date, like the flyers. There's a flyer there. And they encourage you to go out not only to civic groups, but to businesses as well. And I'm working with Matt Flores from the Travis County Voter Registration, and I
He's not
think
here.
September 14th, they're having
I had to mention that because he was invited.
on September 14th, we're having a voter registrar training for those individuals or organizations that want to get involved in this effort for September 24th. We're going to be at 4 high schools, Aikens, Eastside
The training?
Memorial, Racon, the election.
Oh,
On
okay.
that day, those high schools will be
Well, go back
hosting.
to the training for a minute. That's
For
gonna
the
be down at
training,
the
that's on
airport?
September 14th. No, they moved the location. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
But they don't do it at the airport anymore. But it's gonna be on September the 14th, and they're usually at 10:30. But if you go to Travis County, County Voter Registration website,
They should be able to tell you.
it'll navigate you to go to Facebook. And on Facebook, when the page comes on, it shows you the list of dates and locations where there's training. I don't know, they used to, if you had like over 15, they would come out, and do a training,
Yeah.
So that's the training for the folks that are going to be registering
actually
people to vote.
registering people.
Yeah.
That'll make you a voter registrar,
Deputy voter.
deputy
That's
voter
right, yeah.
registrar, that's
Yeah.
it.
And that's a good point you bring out for clarification, because not just anyone can register someone, a citizen. You have to have gone through this training in order to be eligible to register citizens to vote in Travis County.
And it's a big responsibility from what I know.
Oh, yes.
Because there's a lot of different laws that could be violated if you're not careful. And you got to make sure you know exactly what you're doing when you're registering people to vote, especially here in Texas. One thing I notice about the particular date is that it's exactly 1 week after Constitution Day. right? Which is also, I wish was a federal holiday, the same way that this should be a federal holiday, but it's not. But you know, I wish you could kind of put those two dates together so we could think of the Constitution and voting at the same time, because I do think the two go hand in hand.
We used to do that on our 4th of July parades, right? We
Yeah.
used to do voter registration.
That's right.
and
Then we still had a borough to go parade in.
With Dr., what was her name, the chairman of the,
Rosemary Edwards.
Rosemary
Oh,
Edwards,
yeah.
Dr. Rosemary Edwards.
Yeah.
It was her and what's the lawyer's name with a B?
Yeah, had the weird sunglasses,
Yeah, all right.
Hispanic lady. Damn it.
Bergen or Robert?
No, it was, I'll know it when I hear it. I'll think it.
But anyway,
Too much oxygen for me or not enough, one or two.
they partner with LULAC. I
Mendoza.
remember. No,
Yeah, that's part of her name.
No, the attorney that was going around with us when we were doing single-member districts.
Oh,
Burgo. But anyway,
I wish I could
the
help you.
female,
he was a male. He wasn't no female.
it was. What
Yeah.
am I thinking about?
But anyway, like I mentioned this past weekend at the League of Women Voters, that
No,
in
you got me
Austin,
stuck now. I know you're talking about,
in Austin,
it's
single-member
our party.
single-member district failed 6 times in Austin. Okay.
Yeah.
So right after that, we decided as a LULAC council in the neighborhood association, like they say, roll up our sleeves and let's take a stab at it again. But we'll go through the legislature. And we did. And we found a friend, I'll never forget, receiving a call from the Austin Home Builders Association. Say, hey, y'all want to pursue LULAC? Y'all want to pursue single-member district in Austin? Yeah. We got the money and we got the rep. Senator from San Antonio. And Wentworth.
Oh, Jeff
Wentworth,
Wentworth.
yeah.
Senator Wentworth.
I remember him. Yeah.
Said, okay.
That's right.
And,
He helped us get,
and the reason they were their interest is that as Austin was growing,
yeah.
a lot of communities outside Austin were not getting services, okay? And it was affecting the home builders because people didn't want to buy property,
take it to-
houses where they didn't have fire and they didn't have police and all that. So anyway, long story short, we went through the first legislation and it went to committee. And then they brought in the Cheryl Coles and the Mike Martinez to trash the effort that we were making. So it died. And this is and then the second turnaround, and I tell everybody, and they all freak out. Senator Wentworth's office calls us. Y'all want to try again? Yeah, well, come on down. Here's the format, because, you know, a lot of laws are already kind of structured. You just kind of fill in the blanks. They said, okay, Gavino, here it is. You just put in the numbers, towns over 500,000 or whatever, how many districts you want, and we'll take it from there. And that was the second turnaround. And then Wentworth files his bill. And then the mayor, Leffingworth, comes out the next day. Okay, folks, we don't want the legislature telling us what to do, so we're going to put it on the ballot.
Seems to be a common theme.
And they did, you know, and it passed. Okay, so that is part of the strange.
Borgill. I'm stuck in that lawyer.
Oh, Roger Borgill.
Yeah. I
He's
mean,
a
we
good
were
guy.
hand in
Yeah.
hand, man. I can't forget. You went with us.
I
You
know,
and
Roger
your wife
Borgill. I'm
went
not-
with us
I
to
think about
visit
it.
all these legislators. I think we met everybody up and
I
down
can
the
still walk a
street.
little bit back then.
And then we run into him down there sometimes in the
Yeah.
hall.
Yeah, he's still around. I see him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other senator that worked real well with us, the one that took his place.
I got some pictures of us down there.
What's her name?
Senator Campbell.
Campbell.
Oh, yeah. I got pictures of us there, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's very, very.
Senator Donna Campbell, yeah.
Yeah. But
Did you ever get that bill passed, Gavino?
no, because the city decided to put. We were kind of putting pressure to make sure. Okay, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it through the legislature. So they came out and said, "Hey, forget it. We'll do it," and they did. And because of that, it was put on the ballot.
And now it's policy.
And now it's structured
enacted.
governance for this community. And guess what? It was done through grassroots.
Efforts. Yeah, we did a lot of
Latinos out of the east
walking.
side.
Involved mostly on the east side.
So you're telling me that way back in the 80s, they planned for all this expansion, but they didn't do it for the roads?
Nope. Oh, yeah. Well, see, growing up in Austin, I don't know how long you've been here, but in the 60s, back in the day, the mothers and fathers, well, really fathers, there weren't that many mothers on the government. They didn't want growth.
Mm-hmm.
So the Planning Commission, all these transportation committees and all that, they strongly discouraged any growth in Travis County. And that's why we don't have a loop. You know, like Houston has a loop.
Yeah.
Dallas has a loop.
Well, we have Loop 1.
San Antonio.
It's not a loop.
But see, ours is.
It's not a loop.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But it's because of that.
And we have Loop 360, and
Yeah.
it's also not a loop.
And then in the 80s chimes in the environmental issue.
Mm.
You know, we
Edwards
discovered there's a
Aquifer.
salamander out there. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Man.
Save the damn salamander.
And under the auspices of saving the salamander, you know, is what is today now the gentrification of East Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, the ripple effect, you know. And, but
Wow.
so go ahead and release some of your pressure on who you invited and didn't invite and hurt your feelings and.
Well, also, we do got stuff coming up in the future. We got next week and then the 9th, I think it is, because of course, not on Memorial Day, on Labor Day coming up,
When's Labor Day? September?
September 1st? No? Yep.
Coming up, right?
Yeah, anyway. I'm not doing well on note taking, but I'm trying to put all this together right. So tonight, we were supposed to have League of Women Voters and somebody from Travis County elections. Well, I'd also invited League of Women Voters to come on week before on Mike Lee's show. And so they called, Nady talked with the lady, and the lady said no, because they had to be partisan. She thought they were talking about them. So when she didn't respond to my email, I called her up. I said, look, I'm sorry about them, you know, I didn't think Mike Lee was too partisan. She said, Mike Lee, it was me. Because since I was a precinct chair in the Republican Party, she didn't want to be, you know, partisan or something, and so she couldn't come on this show either. And then, of course, last night or night before, they had this, the maps. They're going to be drawing these redistricting maps.
For 2020.
For 2020. I had a little thing about that, and there's Congressman Doggett, a couple other Democrats, and there was, from what I understand, they weren't really subtle about wanting to redraw these maps to benefit the Democrats. So much for nonpartisan, you know.
Now, do you operate this show with your precinct chair hat on?
I
folks?
guess. I never really thought about that way, but, you know, here I am talking to my LULAC buddy. We've been talking about all the times we've been on the street
Well,
together.
I'll tell you, if this was partisan, I wouldn't be here either, so, no.
Yeah, but
you're
it was
nonpartisan.
kind of, I didn't know where to get mad, or, you know, I didn't quite understand. I always thought the League of Women Voters, I knew they leaned a little left, but I always considered them one of the better organizations, I thought. And now I realize that they're no better than, you know.
It's all right, Pokey, I'm here to bail you out. You called me up, yeah.
Oh, yeah, in case I get thrown in jail, yeah, that's right, my lawyer. Thank you, I might need one, huh? But the part of that led to, on the 9th, we're gonna have some people down talk about alternative media sources.
All right.
And the importance of this upcoming election. Because the redistricting is gonna be one of the battles. And I really like Tom DeLay. If any of y'all old enough to remember Tom DeLay.
Oh, yeah, the hammer.
Yeah, and they all bitched about that, but then he didn't get convicted. You know, they charged him, but he didn't get convicted. Nobody remembers that part. This was another redistricting fight that went on. So it's going to be another redistricting fight coming up.
It's going to be an interesting race because, you know, everyone's going to be talking about redistricting, but unlike the 2010 election where that was also an issue, this is a presidential cycle. So everybody's going to be talking about what's at the very top of the ticket. And then
Yeah, and we
everything
got to
else.
get these judgeships back. I'd say my party does, because if I understand, one of the newly elected Democrat judges just had some problems.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, some money problems. I don't know what I pulled it up at, but yeah, it's out there. was misappropriating funds or something like this, just recently.
Well, it'll be interesting. The next election will be interesting. There's going to be so many different factors because you have the president at the top of the ticket, and whoever the Democrats are going to endorse, and then
It'd be Michelle Obama.
you think so?
Yeah, she'll come out and, what else could it be? Seems obvious.
Really?
It's gonna be a big
Doesn't seem
brouhaha
obvious to
at the
me.
Democratic convention, and here she's gonna be trotted out to calm everybody down.
You
And
think it's going to be Michelle Obama? Okay.
But I think
we'll
that
see.
the most important thing for nonpartisan folks
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
is that
yes,
a lot of
thank you.
people participate in the electoral system, regardless of who your preference candidate that is. And if you do have a preference candidate, get out there and volunteer.
that's, we like to point that in here too.
hit the streets.
Well,
Or if you don't, join us. Hey, we need a lot of workers at the elections. When the elections come around, we need judges, we need
Yep.
clerks, we need people working at the voting station. So there are many, many ways how to get involved in a nonpartisan way, because that's what I've told a lot of
It is
times.
good.
You know,
You really
oh,
do
I don't
need to
want to
get
do
involved
it
in
because
it.
it's all Democrat. I said, no, this is.
No, it's, get down there. If it is all Democrats, you better join them.
well, let me ask you. So what do you think is a good nonpartisan way of getting prepared to go vote?
Well, one, again, educating the people what it requires, because,
Well, and that's what- yep.
for example, if you're 17 and 10 months old, you can register,
I think as long as you're going to be 18 on the day
and
that
be
the
18 on
yeah.
the day of
So, yeah.
the election.
yeah.
The other thing, high school students can work at the voting post.
Without being
16
registered.
Right, they're 16
16,
years
you
old.
can work it.
They sign a release form from the parents, and we have a LULAC National Education Service Center, all right? And we work,
that's good
and we
job.
work with 500 kids, Lanier, Eastside, Reagan, and Aikens. And the Reagan students worked the last elections as clerks, because Lanier was a voting location. So those are some of the ways to, and you don't have to be a certain age. Right now, a lot of the judges are like kind of hitting over the hill, so we need those young folks to come out.
You complain about people like me? Actually, I haven't been a judge. I was always either a
So-
clerk.
We're talking about election judges.
Election judges
Not-
for
not
the
your-
day of election.
We all need one. It's an interesting process. Go do it.
I've done it before.
Gavino does it a lot. I was always worked a substation because I'd have to work, and they didn't open till 7 back then. But I don't know what they do now. I don't think they have a substation.
And it's free to register to vote,
You
Is
go
it-
to, hold on. You go to Central County too. That's a good place to. If you've never been involved in elections, work
about
one
an
of those
airport?
elections, and maybe get down to Central County because that's the excitement place. That's where all of it comes together.
That the one on Airport Boulevard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it has changed. It's not.
It's not airport anymore.
Well, it is there, but
Yes, yes. Come on in.
but what they do is nowadays it's kind of like a drive-through.
Yeah.
You just drop off your equipment. They pick up your equipment from your vehicle, and you're gone.
No fun anymore, huh?
No fun anymore. Remember we used
You
to
don't get to
hang
go
out.
in. Yeah, I used to go
We
in.
used to
And,
hang out and talk about everybody and anybody that went to vote. and
hold
shouldn't have
on.
voted, and-
We've been trying to get more staff down here. It's been a lot of changes since Ma's been gone. We got some great producers, but we also need help. And we got one. Come on out here. Because when you work here, you actually get to come on and say something.
Hey,
Hello, ma'am.
nice to meet you.
Kelly, did they call you Kelly here?
Mackenzie, my last name's Kelly.
I couldn't figure out how that Kelly come in. Anyway, Mackenzie.
Hi.
Hi, Mackenzie.
Hi.
Mike.
Nice
Good to meet you. Yep.
Hi, Gavino.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
We
you.
usually pay in pizza, but that's about all we ever pay in for our volunteers.
I do it for free.
Okay, that's good. Well, you get to come, if you work down here, you get to come and say something on the show too. Especially if you have some kind of opinion.
Shout out.
And she may run for office sometime.
Is that right?
Really?
Looking at running for city
Have you
council.
ever worked the election?
I have, yes.
And what'd you do? You're a judge or clerk? Or?
No. I was just down there getting people to vote. That's important.
Oh, yeah. It's the most
Beforehand.
important thing, yeah.
Yes. Now, you were talking about getting people in high school to vote. That was the first time I voted, was when I was in high school. I was a senior at Westwood High School, and that was the first election I voted in.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's
Several years ago, I promise you.
Well, so voting in high school gets to an issue that I've been kind of hinting this whole time, but we haven't
Yeah, we
quite
do
gotten
need to go
it.
into,
We haven't quite gotten it to yet.
let's cut it out.
Well, it's not controversial. It's just, the question, should you walk into a voting booth if you have no idea what you're voting for? Yeah, I tend to lean towards no as well. Now, we do have the political parties that kind of give people a general direction of what they're voting for, right? But I myself, I've never, or I've rarely voted for a candidate that I did not really know about. That's difficult, right? Because there's a lot of people on the ballot, right? Even at the city council race, you're already halfway down the ballot by that point, right? Because you're voting for
course.
president and U.S. senator and
It's a local
representative.
election.
Yeah. So, how do y'all think that the straight party voting, the elimination of that?
I've done a lot of just
national
straight party voting, especially when I was working, because I was
Yeah.
working all the time.
But we're not going to have that option anymore.
No, I'm not.
Not in this
But you can
upcoming
still
election.
see R behind the name or D behind the name.
Well, yeah, but
The propositions, I had to read up on what the party said about them on their websites. Both parties have websites that'll tell you this kind of stuff. See how partisan I be?
Well, it's
I do
definitely
see
gonna
how
add time. It's definitely gonna add time to the voting process,
it is.
not-
And that's going to,
Read it and all that, yeah. Oh, to be
That's
non.
okay.
well,
Yeah,
you're going
you
to see
punch
who's
one
really
button,
dedicated.
vote
though.
straight and then walk out.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can honestly say that through my public school education, I was given the opportunity to learn about the candidates for which I was voting for
Mm-hmm.
before I even walked into the booth. So that gave me an advantage.
I'm going to give you the tools
You have to,
necessary.
make love to a time clock and all the day long and
And we have
drive trucks or anything like that, so.
Right?
we have all kind of different voters, ones that do get into the research and looking up on the candidates and following the candidates and getting involved in the campaign. And then you have those that just show up and, vote, because a lot of times when we're working, well, I just want to vote for so-and-so that was out there gave me this paper.
Or my mom said I should vote for this person.
Come on, Gary.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
again, at the end of the day,
He's got green on, he didn't want to come on.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
the net fact that they voted is the overall goal.
Well, I don't know.
Get
Every
that habit going.
once in a while you vote for somebody with a good sounding name, then all of a sudden you got somebody named Robert Morrow running your county.
Well, it only happens in certain camps,
I can say, you know what? I was one of his electors to get him to become the president.
Oh,
So I was one of the
what?
reasons he was no longer the
Thank you so
Republican Party
much
chair.
for
You're welcome.
that.
We can high-five each other on that. I'm gonna step away now, though. It was great to
Well,
meet
it
you
was
guys.
nice to meet
But don't step too
Thank
far,
you.
because when this is over, all this has to go back to,
You
know.
got it.
All
I'll
right.
be here. Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for your time.
Is that scrubs you're wearing?
Yes.
You a nurse or what?
CNA.
Good
Yeah.
enough, thank you, man, that's an important job, and
Used to be a firefighter.
Wow.
thank you, double thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
So,
Nothing like a first responder down here to help us with the,
No.
and LULAC
Pleasure.
does voter registration year-round.
Yeah.
So that's, many organizations,
I spent
folks,
all day one day with Laura Presley down below the Lamar Bridge on the river. I also spent it one day at the grocery store somewhere. Where was that?
Registering people to vote.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about.
Oh, yeah, I know. Laura
and
Presley,
a
we
lot
were
of
registering
times,
people.
you make, those of us that are political government alcoholics, if you will, because I work for the government, so, that's why I'm kind of like into it. But those that aren't, they ask you questions that are, if you're not part of the game, you really don't know.
Yeah.
And for us, it's kind of like, man, that wasn't, but for them, they.
Yeah, you'd be saying, what a dumbass.
Yeah.
I don't really say that on TV.
But literally, they,
your show,
they
Trade
don't,
apart, what do you expect?
they don't know, and that's what
They don't
we're here
know.
for, to
That's-
educate them, in a nonpartisan way,
Yeah.
because
Or at least a bipartisan way, right?
because we've been I remember y'all set up at the 4th of July parade.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Y'all do that pretty often,
Voter
don't you?
registration.
We didn't give her one or two middle fingers. It was not very
So-
bad at all.
And this campaign is also in English and Spanish and I think about 60 other languages. Again, this is a national campaign.
Maybe we need to spend a little bit more time
National
on
campaign.
a voter ID.
Okay, now,
I mean, I know you don't have to speak English or nothing, but you gotta have a picture ID, right?
Not, well, to vote or to register
To
to
vote.
vote? Yeah,
I don't think you need a picture ID to register to vote in
no,
Texas,
not to
do you?
register to
Yeah.
vote, you
Yeah.
don't. But to
Not-
actually vote in Texas,
Do you?
you have to present an ID.
I thought,
I know he's up on all this, because he's the one that still
Yeah.
works the
Yeah.
poll every
Yeah.
time.
Your people, put that hurdle in there.
White people, or Republican people?
Both.
I don't know what you-
Both.
Are you talking about Senate Bill 14, right, in the
Yeah.
2011? But I thought that one was overturned by court.
No.
No?
Well, it was refined, let me put it
Okay.
that way.
Yeah.
It was.
No,
it
they
was
came back with a
overturned,
Senate
but
Bill
it was-
5
It was kind
next
of
session.
polished up and
Yeah.
said, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that'll work,
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Who refined it? Democrat, Republican lawyers.
but
Had to
being
be
there,
lawyers, that's for sure, huh?
being there, except, processing voters, 9 out of 10, without this law being there,
Hold on here a minute, I'm just thinking, I'm the dumbass. How do we do this refining
Well-
a bill like that
well,
in the courts?
Say that one again?
14, that they refined it and passed it anyway?
So from
Who
what I
refined it?
understand, it was, the
There was-
legislation was challenged, then it invalidated parts of Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, right? Yeah,
there were certain,
the pre-clearance
there
part.
were
There are
certain
lawyers in there somewhere, right?
There were certain sections of
Hope
the
so.
law that needed to be taken out.
We
And
need
they
more
did.
lawyers on our side.
And they did, and that's why it was, they said, go ahead and you can use this. And these are the options of, if you don't have a voter ID, you can have an electric bill, you can have a bank account.
Mm-hmm. Something that
statement.
proves that you are the
Yeah.
person you say you are.
Back in the day, hey, when it was really precincts, all it was is that, yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
He's been coming here 30 years. That was the only ID you needed, if any. Is that, yeah, I know.
Yeah, because it was usually precinct chairman
Right.
was doing it.
Right.
Not a bad
Right.
system, really. It's a good
Alright.
neighborhood
So,
system.
One thing, I know I was gonna say something, could I get senior moments like Pokey over here every now and then?
He's the mayor?
One thing that we haven't progressed in
I'll
the
bring electric
in the
toothbrush out.
electoral system, and you work at the legislature
Oh, I used
over
to.
there,
Yeah.
is, and I don't know why, maybe you can tell me, they have never voted like to have the candidate's picture on the ballot, like in other states and other countries. You go to Mexico,
Yeah,
Central
got picture of it.
America, you have big old picture, and in Texas, they have not wanted to go there.
Wonder why not?
Well, so I don't know the answer to that question, but what benefit do we get from
Yeah,
having
what
pictures?
benefit is that?
Well,
In case
there's,
you don't want to vote for a white boy?
no, because illiteracy doesn't mean you can't vote.
Oh, that's right.
Literacy doesn't mean you, I see, so if you can't read, you can't vote.
But you recognize the person's face.
I see what you're saying.
I know.
I see what
That
you're
goes back to Mike's original,
Mm.
if you're illiterate and just not smart enough to know what you vote for.
Well, you
I mean,
you don't have to be
we've
literate
had-
to know the
hey,
issues.
we've had
Toby.
people
That's
come
true.
vote.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Autistic people come to
Yeah.
the polls and vote,
Can't vote.
you know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, to me,
You'd like to see that.
I like to see that because I think that would encourage more people.
Would that increase the cost of elections, or?
It probably will,
Yeah, it's a
But-
lot of ink.
but,
Uh,
you know,
you-
with today's
especially if we're gonna do color
technology.
printing.
Yeah, I guess with today's, it's on a
But see,
computer anyway,
they
right?
don't print it anymore.
Well, not
just
everywhere.
they
Some
just
some
go to the
counties, I think they
screen.
still.
Talking about that, in Travis County, we're going to
Yeah.
the new elections machines.
Yeah, I have
And
read
we need
about
to get
that.
Dana DeBois on this program to be able to illustrate to us the new machines that we're gonna go into
Know how to
using,
vote on?
and this touch screen.
Mm-hmm.
And see with that, well, you see the picture right there. You know, you don't need to print it, you just see it right there. And you push that button or you hit that button. And once you vote, a piece of paper is gonna spit out. And that piece of paper is gonna be put into a machine that's sitting over here.
Like the old,
Like you're gonna fax it or something,
yeah,
and that's gonna be your voting record right there. But you'll be able to see, oh, these are the people I voted for, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Will that be stored away, I guess, I don't know.
Yes, in that
I
box.
remember Central County when it was paper
Remember when
ballots,
we used to go and throw in the
Yeah.
ballot? Okay, it's the same kind of concept.
and the machines be whirred down there in
Yeah.
Central County.
So you have all these kind of scenarios. Well, what happens if this garbles up, you know? No. So I don't know where.
And all of a sudden, we're gonna have pregnant Chads again,
In
like we did in the
November,
2000 election.
in November, we'll be experiencing that
For the first
I
time.
For
haven't
the
talked to
first
Laura
time.
Preston in a long time now.
I ain't say Laura Presley, I
I
said
know, but I'm
Dana,
thinking about future shows to get
Dana-
Laura Preston on to tell us about
Dana
voter.
de Beauvoir.
I've heard some concerns about these paper ballots, but I don't remember what they are. I mean, do y'all know
Well,
some
one
of the
was
pushback?
that, you know,
What?
what happens if it crumbles up in the machine?
Ah, well,
Is it a-
Call
all you do
Dana
is-
too and bring her down.
Is it a destroyed ballot?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
couldn't you just get the machine to print another one out or something?
You probably could,
Yeah.
but that, you're giving them another ballot.
Well, it's true.
See, and that's
Yeah,
right.
and then plus if they can do that, you can just print out 4 or 5 of them, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
depending on how you're voting.
you know, yeah, it's not a perfect tool probably, but it was one close enough to produce paper ballots, semi-paper, that a lot of people were kind of like wanting, you
Yeah.
know, as
Yeah.
customers, you know, hey, we want to at least
Yeah,
feel something.
proof
do
of that you,
something. Yeah,
that
give me a
you,
ticket
that the
or
input
whatever.
was the same as the
That's what
output.
Ma used to say all the time. She wanted to have a damn ballot.
Yeah.
You can look at it, say, here it is, and put it in the box.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So-
I wanna go back to your
All
pictures on the ballot, cause
Oh, okay.
so do you also think, I'm just kind of thinking out loud
Go
here,
for it.
but
I love these young kids when they, and I'm saying young kids with a lot of respect, 'cause I'm an
Right.
old goat.
Well,
Go ahead.
You're all young compared to us.
maybe, yeah. you-
No
all
baby
right,
to
yeah.
it.
Go for it.
Should we also, I mean, I'm just trying to think whether there'd be problems with that, because if we give them a picture, shouldn't we give them a statement also? A few sentences, 140 characters if you want to put a Twitter limit on? No, what you stand for your campaign.
So you have a picture, a name, and then maybe
On
a,
the ballot, it's just your picture, name, and position you're running for.
But why not a statement about what you're for?
Oh, because
small paragraph of what
be
you
there all
stand
day.
for.
that's why you
true.
have the League of Women Voters. They do that.
Oh, hell, I already don't trust them how they're doing it.
Oh, I'm gonna ask her. I ran.
Ask her,
Well,
ask Joyce to come
so-
on down here.
I ran into her that weekend, this weekend, and I showed her this information. And he said, "Oh, the trailer park show." I distanced myself. I had to. I said, "No."
I don't blame you.
We're not associated with
I
that.
just on the guest.
I try not to argue with you too much on the phone, but it's just,
Yeah. But anyway, let me finish his.
Yeah.
famous
Well, that's
thought
good,
over
because
there.
I see this a lot in
that's pretty funny though.
when we're discussing bills related to elections in the legislature, right? Especially when it comes to bond elections, right? One of the biggest pushbacks. One of the bills, and it passed through this past session. So now every time you vote for a bond, you're going to see on your ballot how much the taxes will be raised by the bond, how much the principal will take to be paid off, the current outstanding number of debt that the taxing entity has. And one of the biggest arguments against that education on the ballot was from lobbyists saying that the ballot is not the place to educate people about the races, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but I don't necessarily agree with it either. Right? You're supposed to have already studied all of the issues before you come in to vote. So that kind of speaks to the point you were saying, right? Against
Well, I know
the
that
Senate.
when we set out and there's a bond election on the ballot, there is a notebook.
Yeah,
that
it'll tell
we
you.
have to set on the, right there, so when people, if voters want to go and sit down and inspect and read the language per bond program, it's there.
But it's not on the ballot.
No, it's not on the
Yeah,
ballot, but
yeah.
it's made available.
So should we have pictures of the candidates then in the same regard? Book off to the side if you want to see the pictures of the candidate.
Well,
I'm trying
but
to make it consistent
You're
here.
talking about a bond
Well,
proposition versus a candidate. There's two different things. Now maybe in a bond, if you're looking for a fire truck and an ambulance and all that, put a picture on there. Yeah,
A
let's
fire
go
truck
for it.
and an
Yeah.
ambulance, yeah.
This is what it's gonna pay for.
I
You
wish.
put
I wish they were that specific, the bonds, but no, it's
Yeah.
usually
No, but
$300 million
I've just
for
been
everything.
curious
right?
all along why Texas has never gone there.
So what entity does it that you said?
You go to Mexico.
They
You
have-
go to
they have 'em
Central
on the ballot
America. Oh, yeah, if you look at their ballots.
They also have voter ID in Mexico.
No, in Mexico, what they do, the old libraries, mobile libraries,
Yeah.
In Mexico,
Which kind of trucks go
they
around
go
and they,
all around the neighborhood. You just show up with your credentials, and they will process your voter ID right there with picture, with an ID,
Thumbprint.
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And it's free. Okay?
For everybody?
It's free for everybody. Okay? That's why in these, some of y'all call third world countries. That's
so that's why you look at me when you say that.
That's why they have a very high, very, very high turnout in voting.
Yeah, but they got screwed up politics
Well,
like PRI and the PAN. I think I like the
Yeah.
PAN, or is it the PRI?
They got Almo now. You need to read up.
I know they got a third party down there that's highly
but
leftist
today
type.
there's a new movement. It's called Almo. The acronym is LMO.
In Mexico?
La Morena, the political party Morena, with a new president that just won.
Yeah,
This is the
yeah.
initials,
Well,
AMLO, is it?
Almo.
to tell you the truth, I kind of, much more left. I got so much stuff I don't even bother to open anymore.
But I think we got a lot of problems here,
Yeah.
for us to be trying to talk and let Mexico know what they should or shouldn't be doing.
Well, it's always good to know something. There's a picture of us.
Oh, yeah, we were
Oh,
at
wow.
the,
Yeah.
Right across the street here. There you go.
right, but we were doing voter registration at the
Pan Am
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, that's right.
Juneteenth.
Way back, that was years ago right there.
Oh, yeah.
You're wearing the same outfit, aren't you, Pug?
Yeah, sure. I think I washed it 2 or 3 times since then, though, but, I think I got my hair cut now, too.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, he's a good example. He got involved in politics very young. That's how I met him.
Yeah,
I
he
met
was in
him
college
pushing
at the time.
for,
Marilyn Jackson?
Marilyn
Marilyn
Jackson
Jackson.
campaign against your friend, Eddie Rodriguez.
My friend Eddie Rodriguez, though.
I think that was the year he got that
Look at here.
dancing while intoxicated thing, right?
That's George Morales there in the middle. And I use him
Oh,
as
there
a
you
prime
go.
example of candidate extraordinaire. He's really a pretty good constable, but he cannot be undefeated. I mean, he can't be defeated.
He's the current constable?
Current constable, and can't nobody beat him because
Well,
he
I
is at
mean-
every event in the community.
Wow.
Every single one of them, whether it's backpack or school support, anything.
Mm-hmm.
He is in the community and out there, and from what I understand, he's a fairly decent constable anyway. So you can't beat him.
Well, he was
He's not
born.
my party, of course. There's Bruce right there next to
He
him.
was born
Yeah,
and
Bruce
raised in
Elphine.
Dove Springs,
Robert
and he
Kim.
still
Yeah.
lives there. His family's there. He's truly grassroots, like you mentioned, and
He's at every event.
he's
He does it right.
and he does an annual backpack give back.
That's one of my
to
favorite
school.
pictures, Gavino.
Which is that one? Oh, you're.
Remember? That was down at the, that was a Bastard Sheriff Festival. Where you got up and told him, you don't want to get deported? Really easy, don't get drunk and beat up your wife. Simple.
Can't go anywhere with you guys.
That was that one. Because I asked, you got all this stuff going on, you have LULAC or NAACP on your paddle? Anyway, that was a good one.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you're promoting this, Gavino. I think it's important that people do get involved when they get young, when they're younger in particular, right? Because that's kind of when you're formulating all your beliefs. But I think it's important that people ask themselves over and over, right? I know I do. Do I really believe what I'm advocating for, right? Because it's important you ask yourself that question. Because things change, right? And,
Thank you, Gary.
What's that? Oh. Things change and issues change and landscapes change and that's why I really hope the Constitution Day people, right, which is 1 week before this on September 17th, gear up with the register to vote people because you put those two things together and I think that civics will be well and alive here in the United States if we do that.
I'm pretty sure. I'm projecting we're going to get a very, very high voter turnout in 2020.
Nationwide?
Nationwide, and that's why it's real important to register now, okay? Because one, there's 30 days before the election, and we all procrastinate a lot. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And now it's easier because you can also do it online. You can register. You print out the registration form, and you take it down to airport.
Or you can mail it too, can't you?
And you can mail it
Yeah.
as
Well,
well.
let me do something real quick here about check for if you're expired. I know every time I go, I just show them my driver's license because I know I'm not expired, but now you're making me think about it. You can go on many places to find out, or just plug it in your search engine, I guess. How can I check my voter ID? I mean, my voter registration card's expiration date, I guess. I don't know.
And make sure to plug in the name of your county too when you do.
Oh, yeah, that would help.
Yeah. Yeah. But do
should be
they
easy to do,
expire
right?
though? So how long do you have? Because I know I've never renewed my registration. I've just changed my address.
I'm not
And,
sure how, all I know is that once you vote, it kind of like.
It just keeps going. Yeah.
Oh, does it?
Okay.
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 It
That's probably why.
re-registers
Yeah.
you.
I know I have them in a drawer, but I never take them when I go to vote because I just show them my, my
But
ID.
no,
and-
you
Yeah.
do, they do take you off if you're become an inactive voter.
That's true.
But I'm not
That's
too
true.
sure,
How long it
many
takes, yeah.
years or whatever. But because
Yeah, well, I vote every election.
we have had people show up and, oh my God, homeboy hadn't voted since 1974. So
Yeah, he needs to re-register or something
uh,
there.
he wanted to register to vote. But, yeah, so that's why it's part of the, LULAC decided to be part of this national program here so that we could help and amplify the opportunity to vote. So I know St. Edward's Council and UT Council, they're going to be hosting one on campus that one day, September 24th. And you can do it too, like I said, you don't have to be an organization, you can just be a voter registrar, to be able to do this.
And that's really one of the last days you can do it to be able to vote in the November election.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's close to
Yeah.
the November election deadline for the upcoming constitutional amendments.
Let me see exactly what day it is so we can tell everybody exactly the cutoff date.
Get your ass out
Y
there.
se habla español, esta campaña está en español también, queremos que todos participen y se inscriban a votar el día 24 de septiembre con muchas otras organizaciones entre todo el país. Ese día se van a reunir y van a tener un puesto para registrar gente, ciudadanos para votar, que estén listos preparados para votar en las elecciones del 2020 presidencial que ahí vienen muy cercas, y la más cercas que viene es el día 4.
Man, I just checked and I forgot. It's the 3rd or the 4th.
Pero es que es el día 4 de noviembre. Estas
It's
son
the 3rd.
el día
Tuesday.
3 de noviembre, que es un martes, de las 7 a las 7 en cualquier cajilla en el condado. Puede ir a votar, y estas son por las proposiciones que pasó la legislatura. The legislature ahora pronto que anduvieron aquí en Austin. Solo que, Pokey, thank you for allowing us to promote
And you heard it right here.
September 24th as voter registration day. All
We'll
right.
do it some more.
And again, we want to strongly encourage folks.
So make
All right,
sure you
Gavino,
still
now
register.
Tex-Mex. We need the
Hola,
Tex-Mex
venta,
version.
So you gotta have Tex-Mex.
We gotta have the Tex-Mex.
But don't
You
do
could
it, so
have
it's a
one-
mess.
you could have one there at your house in Dove Springs. Just set up that table, pop
Set
it
right
up,
out front, yeah.
pop it up. And
And
if you
shade it for it.
register online,
It's a good idea.
they will note your location on the website. Let's say on that day, people want to register and they say, where can I go? Where's the voter registration on that day? And if you register,
Knuckles
it'll be
crossing.
right there. Pokies. Boom.
Everybody knows where it is, got the flag and all that stuff out there.
So, yeah, we're proud to be part of this nonpartisan effort. So what do we have planned? What are we looking for
I
next
like,
week?
LULAC has always been, I learned a lot from you. That personally, you understand, going down to City Hall so many times, State Capitol,
That's where I ran into you one time, I think.
10-4.
And you drafted me for a year.
Well, we need
How
to get
long
you
has
here
it
more.
been now?
A long time. We need more often down here.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
he said to me too. Just come on once. Yeah.
Yeah, well, next week, if I can pull this off, Nelson Lender's filed suit about ballot language at the city. Ken Martin, Austin Bulldog. Oh, Lord. Turn my oxygen up some more. Damn it, I forgot what he's working on. But anyway, there's city council stuff, what I'm trying to do for us next week. Sound like a plan?
Well, we don't have a friendly council member this time around.
No.
On right now, we used to have.
Maybe I can get mine from what's her
Oh,
name?
De La Garza?
De La Garza.
She'll probably come on since she wants to be county attorney.
And she's been on here before, so she knows we're, friendly tight.
Don't,
We don't bang it too much,
You can get anybody on here to talk about the scooters?
De La Garza. I wanted to buy one surplus so I can go check my mail, because I can't even walk down there and check my mail now.
No, these things are ruining my life.
Are they?
Yeah, you've never had somebody just run in front of your car on a scooter?
But I'm in front of mine, because I'm about half blind now.
Yeah. No,
Be
they
reaching
gotta do
down there and
something
just
about
my
these
oxygen when
scooters.
they do that. Yeah, that's for next week. Because with the camping ordinance, weird stuff, and city,
Now, they're gonna revisit that soon, I think.
yes, so
I
we'll
think
talk
they've
about
been
that.
I think they've been camping on the Capitol grounds.
They,
Is that right?
I can't remember what Austin Bulldog was writing about now. Now, I'd like to get Ken Martin and Nelson Linder on if we could. At least those two, and maybe Dilla Gauss. Why not, just ask.
And you'll have a show talking about the different ballot initiatives that are gonna be on in November, won't you?
We should have,
Yeah.
to educate the people I don't even know what they are, other than the one you mentioned.
I think it's
There's a
on
few good
September
ones. How many
9th.
What's
How
that?
many are they?
I don't know, I could probably bring it up
Yeah,
right
but
now.
let's see how many.
But,
Well, you're gonna come back when that show comes on.
I'll come back for that.
Well, I know the only thing I planned beyond that is the 9th, and that was gonna be the importance of this election, the kind of stuff that's gonna be decided by the outcome, and alternative media, because Raging Elephants Radio and El Conservador in San Antonio, he will be up here. I don't know about Apostle Glaber yet. Hopefully he'll be here too.
Let's see.
Maybe you
Well,
too.
I'm trying to,
But that would be mostly to talk about state politics, as well as things like the redistricting maps that are coming up. Yeah, and the importance of getting out and voting. We'll probably be plugging this for the rest of the,
Well, another topic that we probably need to bring people to talk about is the census. The census is coming up,
that'll be a good one for the 9th when I get,
and we need to
George
educate
Rodriguez
the people about the census and how important it is to be counted, whether you're documented or undocumented, that's not gonna be there. Thank God they're not gonna have that question on the census this year. Just come around.
you just kind of got to know one way or another what kind of, we'll
Well,
probably
but see,
differ on that
the-
some, I don't know.
it sounds like a topic for a different day, huh?
But the name
Yeah,
of
since we got like 30 seconds
But
left.
see, the name of the game is the number of people. Boom, that's it.
Yeah, but
And y'all
Number
are
of
the ones
citizens.
y'all are the ones that want to say no, but only these.
all the citizens.
I'm just trying to find the ballot initiatives for November, but I can't find them right now. We'll talk about it
Yeah.
next
Like I
show.
say, we have to have a show on that and
We'll have to have a show on that.
have Michael back.
The only thing I'm looking for as
All
far
right,
as is the
don't
6th,
forget, September 24th, and like you say, we'll be talking about it
10-4.
up until that day to make sure that make sure Austin gets counted. Austin, we want to show our Austin numbers out
But they're all
there.
from California now.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, folks, we're about to go off. I appreciate y'all coming on. I thought it was pretty good info out there.
Always a pleasure.
Well,
Always a pleasure
that's-
being on.
No pizza tonight either. I know, sometimes you got, sometimes you don't. Anyway, here we go. Bye-bye, folks.
Adios.